This is the KOB4 2nd Congressional District debate. The candidates working to earn your vote are Democrat Xochitl Torres Small and Republican Yvette Herrell. Moderating tonight, KOB's Tessa Mentis and Chris Ramirez.
And thank you so much for joining us tonight. For those of you watching on KOB TV or KOB.com or listening from our network of radio partners across New Mexico, welcome.
And tonight is the first time Democrat Xochitl Torres Small and Republican Yvette Herrell have debated in the same room.
The candidates have agreed to social distancing measures. There will be no handshaking tonight. The candidates are also distanced from the small crew here inside our studio.
And this race is a rematch from 2018 when Torres Small narrowly defeated Herrell. And we are very excited to have an opportunity to give you both a platform to make your case to voters in your district tonight.
These are the rules KOB established, and the candidates have agreed to all of them. Candidates will have 1 minute for opening remarks, 2 minutes to answer each question, 90 seconds for closing remarks. Moderators may interrupt a candidate who exceed the time limits. Rebuttals are at the moderator's discretion, and we will take 2 very short commercial breaks.
Earlier this week, candidates agreed to a coin flip to determine the order of appearance for both opening and closing remarks. Yvette Herrell will go first, with Xochitl Torres Small going second. So, Ms. Herrell, you may begin your opening statement tonight.
Great. Well, first off, I want to thank all of you for tuning in, and thank you for hosting this debate. This is one of the most important debates of our lifetime. For me, it is about people over politics, and I really want to thank our law enforcement right now. I want to thank you for your service to our communities and to our state, and I also want to thank our veterans and the service members that keep our nation safe and have made us the greatest nation in the country. Again, this is about putting people over politics, limiting the size of government, and taking your values to Washington, D.C. For far too long, we've seen division in Washington, and the losers are the people because our values are not being represented. I am at this debate because I want to earn your support, I want to earn your vote, and I want you to know who I am as a candidate, as a Christian, and as a New Mexican. So thank you.
Okay, and Congresswoman Xochitl Torres Small, you may begin your opening remarks.
Thank you, Chris and Tessa, for hosting this debate. Thank you to all of the viewers. I am so deeply grateful to represent New Mexico's 2nd Congressional District because I know that this is a hard-working district, industrious, humble, often overlooked and underserved. And that's why I wake up every single morning dedicated to working just as hard as the New Mexicans work every single day. Because I haven't been in Congress for very long, but over the 2 years, one of the things I've learned is that we'd all be a lot better off if we had more New Mexican values in DC. Values like looking out for our neighbors and working hard to find solutions together to face the challenges that we all have to confront. And that's why the longest distance that I travel isn't from Las Cruces to DC, but those 45 inches that separate Democrats from Republicans on the House floor. I know that's the only way we'll get things done for New Mexicans.
Representative Torres Small, thank you very much. We're going to go ahead and jump into our first question for the evening. The federal government has spent more than $11 billion so far building a wall between Mexico and the U.S. Now, as of today, it is not finished, and it may never be. What do you believe is the right future of this wall? And beyond the wall, what are your ideas to increase border security? Ms. Herrell, we begin with you.
Great. Border security has been something I've been very proactive on, and I've supported President Trump's administration to build the border wall, and I'm proud that he's actually built over 260 miles of it, and that's just part of the solution. We have to improve our border security measures. We need to give our border agents the tools that they need and fund them completely so that they can do their job to keep New Mexicans and Americans safe. We have to watch out that we are not allowing people into this nation illegally and then giving them benefits that are being kept from tax-paying citizens. But we have drug traffickers, we have human traffickers, we have a lot of problems on the border wall, but we know that it works, and we know that when we are pushing people to the sides and we can capture those that are coming here illegally, it's safety for New Mexicans, it's safety for the American people. But we do have reforms to take place in Washington. We need to ensure that our immigration policies are working, enforce the ones that are on the books, and ensure that those that want to come into the nation legally have a way to do so that is swift and not standing in line and paying dollars upon dollars to do so. But the border wall is something that the president made a promise about. He kept that promise, and I'm proud to stand with President Trump on securing our southern border. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Herrell, thank you. And now, Representative Torres Small, your turn.
As the only member of the House of Representatives on the Homeland Security Committee that actually represents a district along the U.S.-Mexico border, I work hard to make sure that my colleagues, Republicans and Democrats, understand the real challenges that we face along the border. That's why the first bill that I introduced was with my colleague, Republican Will Hurd, to make sure that we have a rural recruitment and retention strategy for our Border Patrol agents, to make sure that we are there to do interdictions in rural areas. That's why I held a field hearing in Santa Teresa and brought my Republican colleague Dan Crenshaw to the border to identify the challenges that we face. And out of that, we had a bill. We put together a bill that's been passed on the House floor without objection to get 100% non-intrusive inspection technology at our ports of entry, where over 90% of the drugs that cross the border come through our ports of entry. I know that in order to address the challenges and to build a secure border, we need a mile-by-mile analysis of the different challenges for every sector of the border. And that's why I've introduced legislation that's supported by both Republicans and Democrats in the House and Senate to get that mile-by-mile analysis. Because I know that we've got to work together. A fundamental piece of border security is a clear and moral immigration system. And that's why I believe that if you want to work hard and contribute to our economy and follow our laws, there should be a way to do that. That's why I've worked with Republicans and Democrats to reform the H-2A visa process to give our dairy farmers the legal, reliable workforce they need. That's why I supported the Dream and Promise Act to help New Mexicans whose only home they know is New Mexico an ability to earn their citizenship. And those are the type of solutions that I will continue to work on across the aisle to build a stronger, more vibrant border.
Okay, we're going to move on to our next question. COVID-19 has exposed large gaps in public education. Affluent and wealthy families have resources to fill that gap, and poor and rural families often do not. The question is, should Congress address this? And if so, what is the right answer? We're going to begin this question with Xochitl Torres Small.
My mother was a school teacher for 30 years, and growing up watching her hard work, I know how important our education system is. As a product of New Mexico's public schools, I know that we've got to invest in quality education to make sure that you can build your best opportunities right here in New Mexico. And that's why I supported a budget that had an additional $16 billion for education compared to the administration's proposal. That's why I'm continuing to work to invest in good, reliable internet across the district. Because as we've faced COVID-19, I've talked to families who are struggling to make sure that their kids have the support that they need to learn. And that's why I've also joined the bipartisan problem solvers, 25 Republicans, 25 Democrats, who put together a proposal for COVID-19 relief that includes significant investments in education to get schools the support they need to teach our kids.
Okay, Yvette Herrell, you may now answer the question.
Would you repeat the question?
Sure. The question is, do you believe there are gaps in education? And if so, what is the right way to close those gaps?
There's no doubt about it that we have a problem with the education system here in New Mexico. I mean, for far too long, we've been ranked 50th or 48th. We're a disservice to our kids, to the future of New Mexico and the future of America, quite frankly, and it's not fair to the teachers that really pour their heart and soul into their profession in helping our students. We need to start working on the state level and then partner with the federal level, providing funding that's necessary for the schools that need it, but also putting control back into local hands. We need to see about having changes made on the state level that would put the school boards back in control of their curriculums, of their budgets, because this is where the best decisions are made, by those closer to the issue, closer to this problem, and those that can come together as families, as communities. But on the federal level, what we need to be doing is extending opportunities for kids in the classroom when it comes to apprenticeship programs or special skill sets. So that way we can enhance their graduation availability, and they can come out of school with a skill set that will work for them. But right now, our school system is failing them because we don't have adequacy in the classroom, and it's no fault of the teachers, but really the students. It's a disservice to them, the parents, but we need to work in a partnership from the federal and the state level, give them the tools they need, and enhance additional learning, and open up apprenticeship programs and other programs that will allow them to develop a skill set coming out so they can get jobs without going to college, so we can get them prepared for life in New Mexico and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Herrell. Okay, we're actually going to take a short break. When we return, Congresswoman Xochitl Torres Small and Yvette Herrell will take more questions in just 1 minute. Welcome back, everybody, and we want to get right into those remaining questions, so here we go. New Mexican families and business owners need a lot of help right now. This COVID-19 pandemic has affected all of us. But your two parties have philosophical and political differences in what help really looks like for a second stimulus package. What would you insist be included in the next coronavirus relief bill, and what would you absolutely not support? Ms. Herrell, you're first.
You're right. We've seen a lot of stalemate in Washington, D.C. when it comes to the relief packages that we need. If we need to expand the unemployment benefits for those who really need it, I'm for that. We need to ensure that the tools are available for small businesses and for our workforce in New Mexico. What I can't see in the bill that doesn't make sense is fluff. I know right now in the bill that Nancy Pelosi is pushing has over 71 pages of improvements, as she would call them, to our election system. That means she wants to make ballot harvesting legal in every single state. That means she wants to see mail-in ballots in every single state. That has nothing to do with the coronavirus. There's also defunding for the police departments in there. Again, that has nothing to do with the coronavirus at hand. What we need to be working on is finding a viable cure, vaccine for the coronavirus, and giving, again, the tools that are necessary to our small businesses and the American workers. I am all for helping Americans with a hand up, but not a hand out. And it's time to come together in Washington, D.C. and make some decisions that'll benefit the American people. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Herrell. Representative Torres Small, you may now answer.
I've talked to many small business owners and folks who've lost their jobs through no fault of their own in the midst of COVID-19, and know that we have to have their backs. And that's why I've joined with Republicans and Democrats and the problem solvers to put together a plan to get folks back to the table for negotiating. Because when it comes to what I won't accept for a COVID-19 package, it's stalemate. We have to get to an answer. And that's why we put together this proposal that includes a second round of paycheck protection program with loan forgiveness for those who have already received it, so they can clear those loans off the books. That's why I've worked hard to make sure that people who've lost their jobs through no fault of their own receive support. That's why I've worked hard to make sure that there's additional funding for our healthcare system, so that our rural hospitals and clinics can keep their doors open, so that our veterans can continue to receive the care that they deserve and we have promised, and so that we can all get testing results in a quick enough time so that we can do something necessary to stop hotspots before they get out of control. Because we have to overcome this challenge together. We have to find ways to build solutions. And that's why I'll continue to push to get another package for COVID-19. Now, unfortunately, my opponent in previous debates actually said that she did not support a second COVID-19 relief package. I'm pleased to see that she now acknowledges the need of the real hurt that people are facing, but I'm always going to have the backs of New Mexicans and continue to fight for that support.
Okay, Ms. Herrell, go ahead and give you a rebuttal opportunity on that.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that might have been misunderstood. I've always said that I support the American worker, the New Mexican worker, and that I did say that if we needed to expand the additional unemployment benefits, that we should do so. I said not at $600 a week. I think that is too much in New Mexico standards. We're having a hard time seeing people get back to work because of the amount of the first CARES package. Yes, people that need a handout, absolutely, we need to give that to them, or a hand up, excuse me. But I don't want to see us filling a bill with frivolous things that do not have anything to do with the COVID-19.
Okay, we're going to move on. This next question is about energy. You both have publicly stated you understand the role gas and oil plays for our economy and our state budget, but voters may not know how you feel about the role gas and oil and fracking plays on our environment. The question is, should our country move away from fossil fuels? And I'd like your answer to include both the role of energy in our economy and in our environment. Xochitl Torres Small, you're up first.
First, I want to be clear, I do not support a ban on fracking. I've made that clear, and I've stood up to my party when they tried to ban fracking, or when they said that they wanted to ban permitting on federal lands, and even when they tried to exclude oil and gas workers and businesses from coronavirus relief funds. Instead, I worked to make sure that that relief was available to everyone, and I worked on the ground to make sure that small businesses across New Mexico, and especially the hardworking people in southeastern New Mexico, were able to access those funds. Now, when it comes to climate change, this is a challenge we all have to face together. That means having experts in the oil and gas industry, as well as in conservation, at the table to identify those challenges, so we can solve problems like fixing methane leaks and working together to make sure that we are diversifying our energy portfolio. I know that the only way to have a sustainable solution is having people at the table. That's what I've worked to do, and that's why I'm proud that I've been endorsed by the United States Chamber of Commerce, and why the New Mexico Oil and Gas Association said that I was a strong advocate for the industry.
Okay, Yvette Herrell, you may now answer.
Great. Yes, there's no question that oil and gas in New Mexico is our biggest industry and employs hundreds of thousands of people. And we have seen opportunity for innovation and new technologies. Prior to the COVID, we saw production higher than it's ever been and emission rates lower. And we do have to look at the environment, but I'm proud to see that this industry has done so much better at limiting their carbon footprint. And we know that we want to save the environment. We want to ensure that we have clean air, clean water. We need to work together, and we have done so. But we can't allow bills like the Green New Deal dictate what we do for the future. And my opponent has voted to allow future presidents to ban fracking, and also said in our last debate that she did think that we should join the climate Paris Accord agreements. So right there, when we look at what Joe Biden said the other night as he was on the debate, he said he would join that agreement, and he's also talked about going to a new Green Deal, and that will not work for New Mexico. That will put thousands of people out of work. It will be expensive for the end user, for the consumer, and we can see that we have a great industry here. We are one of the top producing states in the nation, and when we work together, we can be pro-energy. We can keep those people employed. We can do so with protecting our environment, but we can do so in a way that works for everybody. Keep our revenues coming, get the economy back going again, see more production levels, and keep those revenues coming into the general fund for New Mexico schools, for our roads, for our costs of doing business and living in New Mexico. But I can see now that we have a very stark difference in what we're talking about with environment and with oil and gas as an industry as a whole.
I'm going to advocate for your voters. Yes or no, should the country move away from fossil fuels? Xochitl Torres Small, it's a yes or no.
First, can I have a rebut for the opponent, which you raised about the allegation there? Yeah, absolutely. I want to be absolutely clear with folks about the challenge, about some statements that my opponent has made. Because let's get the facts straight. News articles have already clarified that my opponent's claims are false. She's been corrected by the Albuquerque Journal. She's been corrected by the Roswell Daily Record, and she's been corrected by the New Mexico Oil and Gas Association. So I don't know what's worse, whether she said it the first time or whether that she continues to say it even after she's been corrected. But what's clear is that she's willing to say anything to get elected. Now, when it comes to diversifying our energy portfolio, I think we need to do that with everyone at the table.
Yvette Herrell, you have an opportunity to rebut this statement, and I do want to ask you the same question. Does this country move away from fossil fuels? Is that a good idea, yes or no?
No, it's not a great idea. And I would just recommend that the voters go to the government web pages and look at the voting record, because actions do speak louder than words.
Okay. All right, so we have our next question, and I do want to let you know that the time limit is different on this question. You're going to have 1 minute each to answer. So here's the question. For 2 election cycles now, the race between you both has been bitter, it's been messy at times, and we believe voters would appreciate you saying one thing that you admire about your opponent. Xochitl Torres Small, you're up first.
Thank you so much for asking that question, because I think it really is an important question, that we continue to support each other in this challenging process. And that's why one of the things that I really appreciate about Yvette is that she leads with faith, that she brings what she believes to the table, and that she does it because of what she believes and who she believes in. I think we all have to be grounded in what we believe in, and a fundamental piece for me is service. And I see that too. This is not an easy thing to step up and see all of those awful commercials. And so being willing to step up to do that, regardless of what we think about the issues, really matters. And I appreciate that. So thank you, Yvette.
And Ms. Herrell, you as well. What do you admire about Representative Torres Small?
I actually admire her as a person, and the reason I say that is because we've obviously seen each other over the course of the last 3.5, 4 years, and there's always been a real mutual respect between the two of us, and I've admired that, because she's right. We both see ads all over TV, and it does get kind of weary to see that kind of talk, but it's always refreshing when we see each other at different events, or even today on the debate stage, that there is such a mutual respect for one another, and I really appreciate that, especially when we're running neck and neck, head to head against something that's so important. So it's nice to see that kindness, and I do appreciate that very much.
Great. And I think that is a great time to go ahead and take another little short break. Closing statements coming up in 1 minute.
With the question and answer portion of this debate, we're now moving on to closing statements. A reminder, the candidates have 1 minute and 30 seconds to answer each question. Yvette Herrell, you may now make your closing remarks.
Well, first off, thank you so much, and thank you everybody who joined in tonight. Really, this is the most important election of our lifetime, I believe. We truly are fighting for one nation under God, and I am unashamedly pro-God, pro-life, pro-gun, pro-family, pro-business. And you can see that there's a very stark difference between my opponent and I. She voted to impeach President Trump twice. I am very proud to have the endorsement of President Donald J. Trump. Nancy Pelosi does not represent New Mexico. She doesn't understand New Mexico, and yet my opponent will vote with her 95% of the time, which clearly does not reflect the values of New Mexico. I'm also concerned because I am an advocate for life. I believe life starts at conception. My opponent worked for Planned Parenthood and believes in taxpayer-funded abortion. That's wrong. But what really bothers me is my opponent has said that she will vote for Biden and Harris. They have said out loud they will raise taxes on the American people, and they will kill our energy industries. It could not be more clear. I am running because we deserve a seat at the table, somebody who really cares about New Mexico values and will take your voice to Washington, D.C. It is about relationships. I am proud to have served in the New Mexico legislature for 8 years. I understand the district. So let's pray for our nation. Let's pray for our president. And I humbly ask for your vote in this election. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Ms. Herrell. Okay, Representative Torres Small, you may now begin with your closing remarks.
Thank you, Tessa and Chris. Thank you to all the viewers for engaging in our democracy today. When I ran to represent New Mexico's 2nd Congressional District 2 years ago, I said I'd be willing to work with anyone to deliver for New Mexico. And I've forged ways to do that in Congress over the last 2 years. Because I know that common sense solutions don't come with a party label. They come with hard work. And that's why when 90% of the drugs that come across our border come through our ports of entry, but less than 15% of the commercial vehicles that cross that port of entry gets scanned for contraband, I worked with Republican colleagues to get to 100% scanning at our ports of entry, and I'm proud that Santa Teresa Port of Entry is going to be a pilot to do just that. When the rural hospitals and clinics were struggling to keep their doors open, I worked with the Trump administration to make sure that rural hospitals had access to the Medicare advance payments that would allow them to continue to work, and to make sure that doctors could reach their patients over the phone when good, reliable internet or coming into the clinic wasn't an option. And when it comes to supporting our robust economy, I stood up to my party and stood up for New Mexicans to pass the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement. The truth is, there's only one of us on this stage tonight who has demonstrated capability of working with others to deliver for New Mexico. I'm asking to continue that work. I'm asking for your vote. Thank you.
And with that, that starts to conclude our KOB4 2nd Congressional District debate. Thank you to Congresswoman Xochitl Torres Small, Ms. Yvette Herrell for participating, and of course thank you all for watching. And we ask that you stay with us here on KOB4 because coming up next, NBC will bring you the first vice presidential debate between Vice President Mike Pence and Senator Kamala Harris.
And tomorrow night, another exciting night here on KOB at 6:30. We have debates between the candidates for the 3rd Congressional District that represents northern New Mexico. Teresa Ledger Fernandez and Alexis Martinez Johnson will be debating with us in their remote locations from northern New Mexico. We hope that you make the time to watch that. It informs your vote, and we do hope you will vote between now and Election Day on November 3rd. We will have a full recap and analysis of this debate tonight on the Night Beat. Good night, New Mexico.